me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top.
Welcome back to Juggernaut Retro Reviews, everybody. And today we're going to be reviewing TNA Slammiversary 2008. Since Slammiversary 2025 is going to be coming up this Sunday, I thought I would go back and review some old Slammiversaries. So, we go all the way back to June 8th, 2008. And they said this show was from Memphis, Tennessee, but on here it shows it was from Southaven, Mississippi. And you could tell by, the logo of the show and, like, the whole stuff that they were doing with, like, Elvis Presley and all that. They were talking about how, they were in Memphis, Tennessee. I mean, who knows? Maybe Southaven, Mississippi was maybe really close to Memphis. Maybe, like, I don't know how close these cities are together, but maybe it was really close to Memphis. And the attendance for the show was 2,000. 2,000 people were in attendance for the show. So, a pretty low buy rate. And also they were going up against the NBA Finals during this time, with the Lakers and the Celtics. So that probably took away from the buy rate and also the attendance as well, probably. But looking on paper, this Slammiversary looks really good. Because you have matches like, you got Kurt Angle versus AJ Styles. You got a King of the Mountain match between Samoa Joe, Booker T, Christian Cage, Rhino, and Robert Roode. So, I mean, on paper, this looks really good. But there's something that this show is missing, which I don't know really what it is. Is it like maybe that star power like they had in like 2007? But I don't know. This is something the show was missing. And it's crazy. This show was 16 years ago. That's just hard to believe, but let's quit wasting time and let's get started with this review. So, the opening match to kick off the show was a TNA X Division Championship match. We had Petey Williams with Roxxi and Scott Steiner going up against Kaz or Kazarian, known as Kazarian now in TNA. Yeah, I thought this was a good match. Both guys worked really well together. I feel like the crowd was just kind of waiting more for Petey Williams to hit his Canadian Destroyer. It was pretty, nice high flying stuff in the match. Nice transitions between both guys. There was one point where Roxxi and Scott Steiner, they were interfering quite a bit in the match. They used like a lead pipe on Kazarian or Kaz. And he got busted open. He started bleeding like all over the mat and stuff. So yeah, they had some color there. But I don't know. It's just like I never been the biggest fan of Petey Williams, and like he was doing this whole like Scott Steiner gimmick, which like Papa Pump Scott Steiner. He was kind of doing that gimmick a little bit. Which I just really wasn't a fan of, and also, if you kind of take away Petey Williams' Canadian Destroyer, to be honest, I don't think Petey Williams would have been much. Like, I just wouldn't have cared about him much in the X Division. But Kaz, I feel like he held his weight pretty good in the match. They went on pretty good. The match went about 15 minutes. But Petey Williams ended up retaining his championship when he finally hit the Canadian Destroyer. And it was an okay match. And after the match, Scott Steiner, he ended up beating down Kazarian because Kazarian apparently had a world title match coming up on the upcoming TNA Impact. And Scott Steiner, he wanted a championship match. How he kind of got screwed out of one. So he was going to screw Kaz here. Yeah, I don't remember this a whole lot. But yeah, next match we'll go to is we had a 6-woman tag team match. We had Gail Kim, ODB, and Roxxi going up against the beautiful people of Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, and Moose. And no, I'm not talking about the Moose that's currently, part of a part of TNA right now. You know, the big black Jack Moose. I'm not talking about that Moose. This woman Moose, which I don't remember her that much. Like, I was watching TNA during this time, but I don't. She doesn't recall like her, and even when I saw her in here, like I didn't really recognize who she was. The beautiful people, you know, they were okay. I feel like that was more like of a Dixie thing, you know, like especially, you know, going into like 2009, 10, you know, going on forward, you know, they were definitely trying to make the beautiful people like a main thing in TNA, which people love. They love the beautiful people. Gail Kim, ODB, I feel like they really resonated well with the fans here. They were probably the best part of this match. This is probably, well, I won't say the weakest thing on the show, because there are some weaker things, but yeah, Gail Kim and ODB and Roxxi, they ended up winning this match. I really don't remember how the match ended. That's how how forgettable this match is, but it was okay for, you know, what it was, I guess. But yeah, we'll move on to the next match, which we had was the TNA tag team titles on the line. We had the Latin American Xchange, Hernandez or LAX, Hernandez and Homicide going up against Team 3D, Brother Devon and Brother Ray. Yeah, this match was not as good as the Lethal Lockdown match that they had. And also, this is kind of like the heaviest I've seen Brother Devon and Brother Ray look. And they're like 3D that they did look kind of lethargic, didn't look the prettiest. But I gotta tell you, the bright spots of this match were Homicide. He looked really good. I mean, Hernandez, you know, there's a lot of beef in this match between Hernandez, you know, and of course Team 3D. So I guess that was cool. But yeah, Hernandez. Homicide was definitely the bright spot in the match. Selena's, or I think that's her name, she was kind of getting involved in the match. Hector Guerrero, he kind of made his distractions a part of this match. But yeah, the Latin LAX ended up winning this match. Okay for what it was. Next match, we had Awesome Kong doing doing this like open challenge, kind of like, I think it was like 25,000. If you win, you get 25,000. And she ended up facing Serena Deeb. Yes, Serena Deeb, you know, who's great with submissions and stuff. You know, this time people didn't really know who she was. I didn't know who she was. Yeah, this was kind of more like a squash match here. This wasn't really much of anything. Serena Deeb did not get much offense in. Awesome Kong, she ended up hitting her finisher. What's her finisher called? Gosh. Well, yeah, she hit her finisher on Serena Deeb, and the match only got like 2 minutes. And then Awesome Kong, she said she wanted to do another match against somebody in the crowd, and it was Josie Robinson. Josie Robinson actually had a little bit more offense than Serena Deeb. You know, she kind of caught Awesome Kong when she wasn't ready, kind of beating her down a little bit, and then it was kind of all wraps up for Josie Robinson. She ended up being the finisher of Awesome Kong, and that was that. To be honest, these matches should not have been on the show. This is probably some of the weakest stuff of this show. The whole Awesome Kong Open Challenge, 25,000. Yeah, and then also they had to sign contracts, you know, so it was legal for them to get in the ring. But yeah, I just wasn't a fan of this. This should have been on like TNA television, like on Spike TV. I'd rather seen it on there, but yeah, you should have done this on pay-per-view. If you want to do this on pay-per-view, it should have been with somebody like bigger names. But yeah, that's just me. And also, if they want, like I said, if they want to do this on pay-per-view, they should have had the person win against Awesome Kong. But Awesome Kong was just a monster. She was a beast, so they want to keep her strong. And then after this, we had this whole wedding between SoCal Val and Jay Lethal, where he was doing the whole like Macho Man like impersonation. And I think it was at SummerSlam '91 where Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man was they got married at SummerSlam, so they're kind of doing like a reenacting here of that, because Jay Lethal, he was doing this whole Macho Man impersonation. He was doing this Macho Man character, the Black Machismo, Jay Lethal. And also the best man was Sanjay Dutt. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of weddings in professional wrestling, because you know how usually they go. They always end up bad. A wedding in WWE or any professional wrestling, they always end up bad. And also, I think WWE they do them a little better. This was kind of hard to watch here. But yeah, Sanjay Dutt was telling SoCal Val, "Hey, you should be with me, and you shouldn't be with Jay Lethal." And also, you had a whole bunch of legends out there. Yeah, Jake the Snake Roberts. You had Kamala. You had Coco Beware. You had, I can't remember all the other guys that were out there. But yeah, you had some legends out there. It was very hard to watch. I wasn't a fan of it. The wedding got ruined with everything. You had Sanjay Dutt turning heel on Jay Lethal. Yeah, just wasn't a fan of it at all. Wasn't not a fan. But yeah, that was that segment. Now we go on to the match between AJ Styles and Kurt Angle. This was like the first time ever that they met on pay-per-view. Well, they met like back in like in 07, but it was like just on the Impact, and they probably didn't get a whole lot of minutes. I don't really remember much from that match. But the whole storyline behind this was Kurt Angle and Karen Angle. You know, well, AJ Styles was seeing AJ Styles was friends with Karen Angle, and then Kurt Angle was having suspicions that she was sleeping with AJ Styles, and yeah, it's just, you know, very drama filled storyline here. not the greatest, you know. Definitely feels like some Vince Russo booking here, or some story writing here. But the match wise, the match was really good. And also I don't think this whole storyline fit for AJ Styles. Now, if you throw in like Jeff Jarrett in here, you know, that would have fit much better. And of course, you know, Jeff Jarrett and Karen, you know, they got together in real life. But yeah, this match here, they have really good chemistry in the ring. It was some really good stuff. A lot of suplexes from Kurt Angle, of course. Of course, we saw that. There was one point where AJ Styles, he did a plancha over the rope and kind of landed on the back of the neck of Kurt Angle. You know, Kurt Angle, he's had a whole bunch of neck problems in the past. So that kind of looked, that spot looked crazy. And then there was one point where Kurt Angle, he was also trying to go for a angle slam from the top rope, but AJ Styles countered it into a front face DDT, or front face suplex off the top rope. So I like that transition there. Yeah, both guys were just like, even AJ Styles was hitting quite a bit of German suplexes as well, or suplexes. He even has some nice belly to bellies from Kurt Angle. Yeah, both guys were just working really well. And also, yeah, Tomko out there. He was trying to cause a little bit of distraction, but was it Earl Hebner? I think it was Hebner out there. Hebner ended up ejecting him from ringside. But the kind of like, what kind of takes this match away a little bit is when Karen Angle comes down. And it looks like she comes out with a steel chair. She's about to hand it to Kurt Angle. But AJ Styles ends up taking advantage and hitting the Styles Clash, and that's how that's how AJ Styles wins the match. So, you know, kind of solidifies how Karen Angle and Kurt Angle, you know, they weren't on good terms. You know, they were kind of donezo. And the same finish was kind of at like with I believe it was No Surrender or Hard Justice. I can't remember what show it was. But she kind of interfered with costing Samoa Joe. But yeah, AJ Styles wins here, and then after the match, he ends up getting beat up by Tom Coe and Kurt Angle. Because Kurt Angle was, he was just really jealous of everything. He didn't like what was going down. But yeah, I mean, this was probably the best match of the night, in my opinion. Yeah. But I just didn't like all the interference in this match. Because, to be honest, I think the best match that AJ Styles and Kurt Angle I've ever had was probably on when they went head-to-head up against Monday Night Raw in, like, 2010. Like, the first ever the first ever TNA on Monday. It was, like, in January. That's probably the best match that they've had together, but... Yeah, I mean, it was okay stuff here. It was good. All right. And then now we go to the main event. It was a King of the Mountain match for the TNA World Championship. And Kevin Nash was a special guest enforcer. So yeah, Samoa Joe going in as the champion. And a lot throughout the night they were saying no champion ever has, ever retained the title. So, as they kept on saying that throughout the night, like, probably Samoa Joe might be retaining here. Because no champion has ever done it yet. But we have Booker T in here. We have Christian Cage, Rhino, and Robert Roode. This match was fun. So if you guys don't know what a King of the Mountain match is, it's basically like a reverse ladder match. And also in NXT, if you watch the Iron Survivor Challenge, it's kind of like that. So you have a penalty box out there. You have to get a pinfall to become eligible to climb the ladder and raise the world title, and you got to climb a ladder, and like I said, you raise the world title up there, and that's how you win the match. Like it's a reverse ladder match. And then if you get pinned, then you go into the penalty box for 2 minutes. Those are the rules of the King of the Mountain match. Kind of very, very, very different rules here. But yeah, overall. This was probably one of the best King of the Mountain matches I've seen. This was some fun stuff here. Booker T, he ends up pinning Rhino to become the first person eligible to climb the ladder. He hits a bookend on Rhino, so then Rhino had to go spend 2 minutes in the penalty box. And then the second person to become eligible was Robert Roode. He pinned Christian Cage after hitting Christian with like a ladder. No, it was a chair, but Christian had his ladder and it landed in his face. So Robert Roode was the second person to become eligible. So Booker T and Robert Roode, they were two eligible people. And then the third person to become eligible was Rhino. He pinned Robert Roode after rolling him up. So there was that. And then the fourth person to become eligible was Christian Cage. He did this splash off the top of the penalty box onto Booker T, and that ends up pinning him. So that's how Christian Cage was available to become, or that's how he was eligible. So, the only person left to be eligible was Samoa Joe. So you go like, oh, well, the odds are stacked against Samoa Joe here. Also, Christian Cage, he was definitely hitting a lot of high spots in this match. He jumped off the penalty box a few times. There was one time where he did like a crossbody onto like everybody in the match. That was cool. He was definitely being a spot monkey in this match. He took he went through a table at one point in the match as well. So Christian, he was taking a lot of bumps in the match. Booker T, there was one point where he grabbed the title from Kevin Nash, smashed Kevin Nash with the title belt over the face. He was smashing everybody with the championship. So Booker T didn't care how it had to be done, but he got it done. He just kept on hitting everybody with the championship. And also we saw Christian and Rhino, they were really working together well at one point in the match. Samoa Joe, he finally became eligible when he did a muscle buster onto Robert Roode. Robert Roode looks like he was about to, win the match, but Samoa Joe wasn't having none of that and hit the muscle buster on Robert Roode. And that was wraps there. Samoa Joe, he grabs the championship and he hangs the title belt above. And also, Samoa Joe, he was doing some nice high spots in this match as well. He did this nice like corkscrew plancha over the top rope on like the 3 of the guys. I think it was onto Rhino, Robert Roode, and Booker T. He did like a big plancha on them. Kevin Nash, he did make himself known. He did. He ended up beating up Booker T at one point. He ended up throwing Robert Roode into the penalty box because there was one point where Robert Roode got pinned, but he didn't want to go to the penalty box. So Kevin Nash did make his presence known as well. But yeah, Samoa Joe ends up becoming the first person to retain their championship in a King of the Mountain match. And yeah, it's a pretty good match. The rules are just a little wonky at some points. And who knows if they're actually in there for exactly 2 minutes, because sometimes it doesn't feel like they're in there for 2 minutes. But yeah, Samoa Joe ends up winning here, and that's how TNA Slammiversary 2008 ends. So I'm going to be doing a few more Slammiversary reviews as well. Some more retro Slammiversaries. I'm going to be doing the 2009 review, so stay tuned for that. There's actually 2 King of the Mountain matches on Slammiversary 09. And then they don't do that for since they don't do a they don't do a King of the Ring. King of the Ring. They don't do a King of the Mountain match since 2016. That's the last one that they did. But yeah, fun stuff here. I definitely recommend checking out the show if you can check it out. Check it out on TNA Plus. The match that I would say to definitely check out would probably be the AJ Styles and Kurt Angle match. That's definitely the match to check out, and also the King of the Mountain match. Everything else on here is kind of skippable, but I mean, it wasn't the worst TNA pay-per-view I've ever seen, but it was some fun stuff. But yeah, if this is your first time ever checking out my channel, hit that subscribe button. That really help out my videos in the algorithm. Also, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button to help out my videos in the algorithm. Also, go follow me on all my social media platforms. The link for all my social medias will be down in the description below. And also, stay tuned for more videos I got coming out on my channel. Also got a Slammiversary 2025 predictions coming up on my channel, so stay tuned for that. Also, we're going to be doing a watch along on Sunday for Slammiversary 2025. And going to be doing some more wrestling also. Doing some more retro reviews as well. We got SummerSlam coming up in a few weeks, so I will be doing retro reviews for that as well. But this is your boy Juggernaut saying peace out, and I will see you guys in my next video, so peace.